Alcoholism starts with casual drinking and progresses into addiction. It destroys relationships, results in unemployment, and can cause long-term health issues, often leading to death. In this episode, ordinary South Africans share with us their experiences with alcohol.
When we arrived at a shebeen or a pub or anywhere, we would ask, how many black labels do they have in the fridge? And if they told us, we want all of the stock that's in that fridge.
They were saying you're getting used to it being a black. About I, this must saying shy, everything goes easier.
How many drinks have you had today? How many bottles of alcohol have you had today?
Let me count. From starting in the morning. Okay. As I told you, I'm showing a cleaner that. And then I give a nine madu sham shapur. I'm sure I'm saying there were like 5.
You've had about 5 bottles of beer today.
Yeah. What time is it?
The time is 10:47.
Damn!
This is how most of Thulani's days begin. He says he began drinking heavily in 2001 when he was in high school, the year his father died.
My mom she's like, damn. I just saw it with that time I'll say because we left him at the hospital. But no. So I couldn't cope with that. Even she couldn't cope with that, dog. She had to manage, she had to be a mother, she had to be a father to us. And then that's why I started with manage saying shawchwala and shawchwala and yo. Abona la umalume la ubomncane ntala we get ubomncane la ukhamba le mpethu ukuthi hayi man sha it's hot mfana hayi yabo okay manje they were saying you're getting used to ukuthi ngibe ne black yabo ukuthi hayi this must saying shayilo yabo everything goes easier yabo.
Growing up, Thulani had everything he needed, but after his father died, his mother had to sell their home because they were in debt.
Manje ugcine sokuthi asifake emcashweni yabo. Cashweni naye washaya stress sakhe yabo. Washaya stress sakhe uMagrisa mfethu because naye bengakhulumi nefamily yakhe. Ukuthi phela nginenkinga kanje yabo. So and then I'm available saying by problem child.
His mother died 6 years after his father. Thulani says his family blames him for her death.
Maybe him ngimfaka the stress nakhona lapha. Maybe that's why the family ngasangifuni so yabo. Because manje nangomncaba phela bangitshela nene ukuthi hayi wena uwabulala mama wakho. And so it came to that point to go to now man, shy PM, man. Mawana na wang jo ba pis bang play malang uting bulang ngabulalo mama. Abeng eko kranga. Ukuthi imagine noma ngithi ngifika la mfethu ngiyabona mfethu abantu abangifuni mfethu.
Thulani says he has at times lived on the streets, but thanks to his brother, he now lives in a rented room.
My brother and he haven't given up on me, dog. Use London, dog. He pays for my room. He does everything for me, dog, man, Jabu. Okay, but then it doesn't support my therapy. It doesn't support my habit, Jabu. Hey, I say more million, I heavy and you're no.
Despite the problems alcohol has caused him, Thulani cannot contemplate life without it.
I was waiting, you could try and just pugu ba. That's highly impossible. So eating shy around the lang to lamachita la abgahaza. Let me take a sip. Be asha. So he's a ingenagam so fine
Thulani explains how heavy drinking causes him to black out.
Sasa ngavuka with the bruise. Damn, he in manje le. With our ass no ukuthi uyithole kanjani la le. yabo into enjalo nje ihambayo.
This inability to recall events from the previous day fuels the pervasive guilt and shame common to alcoholics.
We've all heard stories of people saying, I can't remember what I did last night, and most of us think it's nonsense. That's very true. The blackout is your eyes are open and you sort of functioning, but you don't remember.
And your more permanent damage would be Korsakoff syndrome, which is very similar to Alzheimer's. However, it's alcohol-induced. Alcohol targets the short-term memory. It's almost like little strokes that happens in the center of the brain where short-term memory functions is governed. And once that is gone, they would diagnose them with Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, and on a CAT scan it looks like the brain is shrinking.
Hi Helga, how are you?
Fine, darling.
I'm good. I'm with Tulani here, the guy that I wanted to bring to you.
Okay.
Special assignment arranged with Tulani to go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, but his denial, which is common to most alcoholics, signaled he was not ready.
But I'm not an alcoholic, Mus. Everybody drinks, Mus. It's just that we think but I'm not an alcoholic.
So you don't want to go to AA today?
Uyachini lo muntu like him. Ah, come on. Yeah. Got things to do here.
After much convincing, 2 hours later we fetched Tulani to go to the AA meeting. By now he was so drunk he was reeling.
Because I'm a winner. I've done a from before 2010, dog. Alright, dog. My mom died for this thing, dog.
At the meeting, Tulani is disruptive and visibly drunk.
We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. 11. Are these extravagant promises?
Orders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be.
I started drinking at a fairly young age. I was in 34, I believe, or 5, I'm not sure. Before then, I started stealing alcohol from Triple M, Manalo, Miketi, Mafum, when the other guys I would finish up their classes. Up to a stage whereby drinking was of a need.
I never mind, right? So I'm calling man. I'm how to defeat alcohol living in enough. Are you good idea? Sister in a puma, you think, right?
When you admit that you have a problem, that's obviously step number one. Life becomes unmanageable with alcohol. People who are alcoholic, you go through different phases, obviously, as to what you can still handle and what you think you can manage, but it does become unmanageable, every single aspect of your life. And when you get to the point where you can actually ask for help, and you've tried stopping, I've seen a lot of people, they tried on their own, and it just didn't quite work. And my point is always, there is help available. Why would you do this on your own?
Alcohol, like many mind-altering substances, is addictive and has far-reaching consequences to alcoholics, their families and friends. Jabu is 36 years old and from the East Rand. He says he started drinking when his parents got divorced because of their drunken arguments.
So when he left, we saw that as a freedom to us, that now we could do those things that other kids whom didn't have this strictness at their places would do. So we also had that opportunity. And this is when we started now drinking openly. So that's when I started. I think I was around 14, 15 years then.
Jabu says he joined a gang with 11 members who all drank heavily and were really needing a father figure.
We realized that all of us, we didn't have fathers. It's either they were divorced or they had passed on. All of us, none of us had father figures in our gang. We started drinking then, and when we were drunk, we were rebellious and violent. We could approach anybody or anyone, anytime, anywhere. There was no place that we couldn't enter then or do as we pleased at that particular place.
Jabu and his friends became dependent on alcohol.
At this stage, we were not even aware now alcohol was now a need in our lives. For me to be able to cope throughout the day or for me to be able to be productive, I had to have some form of alcohol in my system. I would steal if I didn't have money to drink. I would cheat and lie to my father or whomever in our community, around the community. We would break in, we would go out. In township language, we'd say "Suhares." So as machita kokasi. So that's how we would do this thing.
He describes how their insatiable appetite for alcohol and violence went together.
When we arrived at the shebeen or a pub or anywhere, we would ask how many bells do they have in the fridge. And if they told us we want all of the stock that's in that fridge, and we want to fill the table, now what we do, we start a fight and we start chaos. If they don't understand our chaos, we go and fetch our ammunition, we start causing. Nobody wants to see a muzzle of a gun pointing at their direction.
Mandy explains why some people always need to drink more and more.
Some people call it disease, some people call it an illness. Some people always ask about willpower, which it has absolutely nothing to do with. It's because of that physical allergy. Some people are called normal drinkers, whatever that means. You can go to a party, have 2 drinks and come home, no problem. Other people, alcoholics, cannot only have the 2 drinks. It is an illness or a disease. You have to have more.
Jabu and his gang terrorized their community to get money for alcohol.
And that includes people who love us, our families, our relatives, whom we tormented as well. I remember how every morning, when it's a weekend, people would come from neighboring places to my mom to bring their complaints and say your son or your children, because we were 3 of us, she raised 3 boys, they would bring complaints that we hit or we stabbed somebody or we've hit somebody with bottles or we've sawn at elderly people.
He describes a fateful moment when he decided, together with some people he had just met, to rob a couple they had passed on the street for cash to buy alcohol.
And then we turned back to go and mark these 2 people. And now what the guy did, he lashed out a fist on one of the guys. And then as we were about to grab him, he jumped back and pulled out a firearm on us. And then he shot the guy that fell down. And then as we turned running, he pointed the gun to our directions and he shot a few shots. Like the head that I'm wearing, I just saw the head going in front of me while I was. You can see my physique moves. I'm very quick when I run, especially in those days because we used to run from the police so many times. So I knew I was physically fit and I had a whole lot of stamina. I ran back to the hostel where we were booked. While I was sitting there, I realized that head went off because of a bullet. The guy had actually aimed for my head, but he missed and got hold of my head.
Jabu says he went back to retrieve his hat because he was afraid it might be used as evidence to link him to the crime.
It was around 9 p.m. there at this time. And I walked past the place. I couldn't see the guy, but I saw the traces of blood. And I realized that the person that shot this guy actually rolled the guy over between the fence of the railway houses and the grass. I couldn't find my head. I saw the guy there, I didn't do anything. I ensured that I don't step on any blood because I didn't want any traces leading back to me.
After years of being unemployed and hanging out with a bad crowd, Jabu became a paramedic but continued drinking.
Here was this lump sum of cash coming into my pocket. I celebrated it. Now I didn't have to go and fend in the ways that I used to go and fend for cash. Now I had thousands coming into my pocket. Now I could buy my own liquor as much as I could. I used to have all forms of alcohol at home in the fridge. And my fire station was just around the corner, 7 houses from my granny's house. You know, if I was reporting on duty at 7 o'clock, I would go out of home at 5 to 7 when I walk into the station to a workplace. Then I had already drank 2 beers before I go to work.
He describes why alcohol was so integral in his life.
That was my consoler. You know, whether it's hot, I would go and cool off with my beer. If it's cold, I would go and buy my nib and warm myself up. If I'm happy, I would go and celebrate. If I'm angry, I would go and cool off, you know, and calm myself down with alcohol. So I would find any excuse just to have my next drink. That's how I would drink. And that's the thing with alcohol. It doesn't solve and things don't get easier or better with alcohol. The more you consume it, the worse things get to be.
He met a woman who, having grown up with an alcoholic father, detested alcohol. Jabu had to choose between alcohol and this woman he loved.
I then approached a certain department in our department, which is Employee Assistance Program, you know, and I told them that I've got a problem. And I knew that I did not want to be the father that would be seen as drunk as I used to see my dad being. I knew I wanted to be an opposite of my dad. I knew I wanted to be a better father to my kids, not the person that I was in the state that I was. So I had to do something before I had kids then.
He was sent to a rehabilitation center where he stayed for 6 weeks.
What they had told me there is that when I go back, I'm going to find the world being in the state that I left it. You know, they told me that I'm just a drop inside an ocean. I'm the one that is trying to change, not the world.
Jabu says that when he came home, he knew he had to find support. That's when he decided to contact Alcoholics Anonymous. He has been sober for 10 years.
I did not say, for the next 10 years, I am not going to drink. I have been doing it one day at a time, staying away from the first class. And they said, need to be reminded of this by going to meetings, Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. So I've been attending my meetings every now and then. I'm a chronic patient. Alcoholism cannot be cured. There is no doctor that has cured or that can ever cure alcoholism. No psychologist or therapist can ever cure alcoholism.
Life is now different for him. It all changed when he accepted that he had a problem and needed help.
Today, I'm happy to say I'm a married man. I've got 2 very handsome boys who are very smart. 3 actually. Got 2 families. This is my immediate family and my AA family. I owe everything that I have to these people.
Mark is the chairperson of AA South Africa and says he is a recovered alcoholic. For him, it all started close to 29 years ago.
I had come out of a coma and I had nowhere to stay, and I went to one of my drinking friends and I said, could he put me up for the night? And his wife was going to Al-Anon, and through his wife, she said, why don't I come to an AA meeting?
Mark says he was ready to recover. He explains how his first meeting resonated with him.
I remember the guy standing and sharing, and he said, it's not the 8th or the 9th drink, it's the first. If you don't have the first, you're not going to have the 8th or the 9th. And I thought, how clever, why didn't I think of that?
According to Adele, alcohol rehabilitation requires weeks of inpatient care.
There's no medication that flushes out alcohol. You know, even though you might not breathalyze positive in a day or two's time, it takes alcohol more or less 28 days to actually leave the body. So you can have seizures in your first 28 days after you've stopped drinking that's actually alcohol related. If you land in a hospital, they would check for epilepsy and things like that, but it's related to the withdrawal. So here we don't allow your alcoholics to go out in the first 28 days because we take responsibility for them.
With addicts running into the tens of thousands, there is a desperate need for government-subsidized treatment centres that cater to alcoholics. In February, the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg, Councillor Herman Mashaba, opened a substance abuse centre in Kladi in Soweto.
We now are opening the first of many of drug rehab centres. We're starting here in Kladi this morning, and within the next 4 months we'll be opening another 4 in this financial year.
Dr. Palashe says there's only one government-funded inpatient rehab centre in Johannesburg.
Golden Harvest had about 12 beds. It's an inpatient facility, so it only could take 12 people, only male people. We've since extended it to 58 beds, and we're also accommodating females now.
Dr. Palashe says that in an attempt to help more addicts, they have adopted an outpatient treatment model.
So the matrix model essentially takes all the best facets of different treatment modalities, including the 12-step program. So it takes the best of everything and it puts it into one, and that's why it's called a matrix. Now, these recovering addicts actually love the matrix model. It's an outpatient model. They get to go home every night. They get to confront those things that push them into substance abuse in the first place. At the same time, they're going through therapy.
As more people become addicted to alcohol every day, a select few decide to get help. As long as an alcoholic admits they are addicted, they can begin to recover.
He has all power. That one is God. May you find him now.
Jabu and Mark have recovered through Alcoholics Anonymous. Mark says recovery is only possible when an alcoholic applies him or herself to the program.
You can go to church for the rest of your life. Doesn't mean you're going to become a Christian. You can come to Alcoholics Anonymous. It doesn't mean you're going to recover unless you pick up the kit of spiritual tools, which are the 12 steps, and do them with your heart, not with your head.
Jabu says he leads a full life without alcohol.
Today I can face my challenges with a sober mind, and I know that today I am capable of facing my challenges like that. And there is no challenge that is more powerful than my strength. So today I know I don't need alcohol in my life to be able to face my problems. What alcohol did for me, it made things worse rather than solving anything. I can't remember a solemn thing that alcohol done for me, which was positive.